What if I told you that the same white powder sitting quietly in your kitchen, the one you might sprinkle in cookie dough or use to scrub a stubborn sink stain, could hold the power to transform your erections? That's right, baking soda. Something so ordinary, so overlooked, may actually carry a shocking impact on your penis, especially if you're over 60. For many men, the loss of firmness feels like the end of their masculinity, but what if the answer has been right in front of you all along? My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I've dedicated more than 30 years of my career as a urologist to helping men face the intimate struggles most are too embarrassed to even mention. I've sat across from thousands of older men who once felt unstoppable but now quietly wonder if their best years are behind them. I can assure you, they're not. Here's the part that creates a paradox. We've been led to believe that only expensive pills or complicated treatments can revive sexual health. Yet, a simple, natural compound you already own can support blood flow, calm hidden inflammation, and awaken your body's natural signals for arousal. How could something so simple carry such power? That's what I'll show you today. Because in this video, I'm going to reveal 7 amazing, science-backed benefits of baking soda for erections. Benefits most men have never heard of. These are practical, powerful, and within your reach right now. And before we finish, I'll also share a unique way to combine baking soda with another natural ingredient, a method that can magnify its effects even more. Stay with me, because what you learn today could change everything. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another science-backed health tip designed especially for men over 60. And if this topic speaks to you, type 1 in the comments to let me know it resonates. If not, type 0 so I can keep improving and bring you content that truly helps. All right, let's get started with the very first benefit. Most men don't realize this, but as we age, our body often becomes more acidic, and that hidden imbalance quietly tightens your blood vessels. This is where baking soda shines, by rebalancing your blood's pH and restoring smoother, healthier circulation. 1. Balances blood pH for better circulation. As men grow older, one of the most overlooked changes inside the body is the gradual shift toward acidity. It doesn't make headlines, and your doctor may not even mention it during a routine checkup, but the impact can be profound. When your blood becomes even slightly more acidic than normal, your blood vessels respond by narrowing and stiffening. Imagine trying to water your garden through a hose that's been pinched. It takes longer, less water gets through, and the plants never get what they need to thrive. That's exactly what happens inside your body. And unfortunately, the part of a man that suffers first is often his ability to achieve and maintain a firm erection. I'll never forget one of my patients, Harold, a retired engineer at 69. He sat in my office, his eyes heavy, and said, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore. I still have the desire, but my body doesn't respond." On the surface, his heart looked fine, his blood work seemed normal, but when we tested deeper, I saw it. His system was leaning acidic. That hidden imbalance was silently robbing him of the free-flowing blood he needed for energy, vitality, and intimacy. Here's where baking soda enters the picture. When taken gently and responsibly, it helps shift the body back toward a more alkaline state. This doesn't mean turning your chemistry upside down. It means creating just enough balance so that your arteries can relax, your circulation can improve, and oxygen and nutrients can flow more freely again. Within weeks of adding a simple morning ritual, a glass of water with a touch of baking soda, Harold returned with a lightness in his step. He smiled and admitted, "Doc, I feel awake again." My wife noticed too. That spark wasn't magic, and it wasn't medication. It was his blood finding balance, his body coming back online. This first step may sound simple, but it lays the foundation for everything else. Because once your circulation is flowing more freely, another hidden enemy still waits inside, an enemy far more destructive than acidity alone, and that's where the story gets even more surprising. 2. Reduces inflammation in blood vessels. One of the most silent yet destructive forces I see in older men is inflammation. It doesn't roar like a heart attack, and it doesn't announce itself with obvious symptoms. Instead, It chips away slowly, year after year, until you realize your energy has faded, your stamina has dwindled, and your erections no longer respond the way they once did. I often call it the quiet thief, because it steals without being noticed. And the cruel part is that even men who appear healthy on the surface can be suffering deep inside their blood vessels. I remember Samuel, a proud 71-year-old with a strong handshake and a firm voice, but his eyes told me the truth. He felt defeated. "Doc," he said, "it feels like my body is always working against me." His cholesterol was under control, he wasn't diabetic, but when I looked closer, his inflammatory markers were elevated. That was the hidden clue. What many men don't realize is that the lining of the blood vessels, called the endothelium, is where nitric oxide is produced. Nitric oxide is the spark that tells your arteries to open and blood to rush where it's needed. But inflammation hardens that lining, blocks that signal, and leaves you frustrated in the very moments you want to feel alive. This is where baking soda shows its quiet power. Research has shown that sodium bicarbonate helps calm the immune system's overactive response, especially in the spleen and kidneys. In simple terms, it lowers the background noise of inflammation that clogs your arteries and silences nitric oxide. Samuel began a small morning habit, half a teaspoon of baking soda in water followed by a short walk. Within a month, he came back with a grin I hadn't seen before. "Doc, I'm getting morning erections again, and I feel clearer during the day." That shift wasn't a miracle drug. It was his body's natural system finally being freed from the grip of inflammation. But lowering inflammation is only part of the story, because even when your blood vessels are open, they still need a signal, a chemical spark, to tell them when to respond. And that spark comes from one molecule you've probably heard of, but never realized was so important. 3. Supports natural nitric oxide production. If there is one molecule every man over 60 should know about, it's nitric oxide. Without it, erections simply don't happen. Nitric oxide is the body's natural signal, the green light that tells your blood vessels to relax and open, allowing blood to rush into your penis. When you were younger, your body produced it with ease, but as the years pass, your nitric oxide production begins to fade, and the result is frustrating. You may feel desire in your mind, but your body doesn't answer the call. I remember Thomas, 66, who came to me with quiet embarrassment. He was healthy, still active, not depressed, and his testosterone levels were decent. But his words struck me deeply. "Doc, I still want to be close to my wife. I feel the spark in my heart, but it's like my body has no switch anymore." What he was describing was the silent breakdown of nitric oxide. His brain was saying yes, but his blood vessels weren't getting the message. Now here's where baking soda steps in. While it doesn't contain nitric oxide itself, it creates the perfect environment for your body to produce and preserve more of it naturally. Acidic blood is a hostile environment. Nitric oxide gets destroyed quickly, and the delicate lining of your blood vessels can't generate enough. But when baking soda gently shifts your chemistry toward alkalinity, it protects nitric oxide, reduces oxidative stress, and supports the very cells that make this critical signal. Thomas decided to try a morning ritual of baking soda with lemon water, paired with simple breathing exercises designed to stimulate nitric oxide. A few weeks later, his voice carried excitement I hadn't heard before. "I'm waking up with something I haven't seen in years," he told me. That was his body's natural signal finally firing again, the switch turning back on. But even if nitric oxide flows, there is still another vital ingredient to erections that men often overlook. Because blood is only half the story. Without oxygen delivered deeply into your tissues, the fire can't burn bright. And that is where the next discovery becomes truly eye-opening. 4. Improves oxygen delivery to erectile tissue. When most men think about erections, they think about blood flow. But what often gets overlooked is that blood alone isn't enough. What really fuels a strong, lasting erection is oxygen. Oxygen carried inside those red blood cells that rush into the penis. Without adequate oxygen, the tissue cannot expand fully, it cannot trap blood effectively, and the result is frustrating: weak, short-lived, or completely absent erections. This is one of those hidden truths about male performance that rarely gets explained, yet it makes all the difference. I recall Richard, a 72-year-old retired fire chief, a man who had spent his entire career being reliable, decisive, and strong. When he sat down in my office, he lowered his voice and said, "Doc, it feels like I'm running out of fuel down there. Everything is slower, duller, like the engine won't start." His lab work revealed something subtle but important. His oxygen saturation was hovering on the low side, nothing critical, but enough to explain the flatness he was experiencing. This is where baking soda plays a unique role. By gently alkalizing the blood, it changes how hemoglobin, the protein inside your red blood cells, releases oxygen. In a more acidic environment, hemoglobin holds on too tightly, refusing to deliver oxygen where it's needed. But with a more balanced chemistry, hemoglobin lets go, passing that vital oxygen into tissues at the exact moment it's required. Richard began a small habit: half a teaspoon of baking soda in water before breakfast. Weeks later, he told me intimacy felt different. "It feels warmer," he said, "like things are finally flowing the way they're supposed to." That warmth was not his imagination. It was oxygen finally reaching its destination. But oxygen does more than just light the initial spark of arousal. It also powers the tiny muscle fibers inside your penis that must contract and hold blood in place for as long as you need. And that takes us to another layer of the story, one that unfolds at the very heart of your cells, the hidden energy factories that decide whether your body has the strength to sustain intimacy or not. 5. Boosts mitochondrial energy in smooth muscle cells. Deep inside the penis are specialized smooth muscle cells, and their job is more important than most men realize. They don't just allow blood to enter during arousal, they trap it, hold it, and keep the erection strong until intimacy is complete. But here's the catch. These cells rely on energy, and that energy comes from tiny power plants inside each cell called mitochondria. When mitochondria are young and healthy, erections are strong and dependable. As men age, though, especially in the presence of chronic acidity and stress, those mitochondria begin to weaken. The result is a familiar frustration: erections that fade halfway through or never fully take shape. I remember Gerald, 68, a retired mechanic who had spent his life fixing engines and keeping machines running smoothly. When he came to me, he said quietly, "Doc, I feel like my own engine shuts down halfway through. It's not just that I can't get as hard, it's like I run out of gas." His words struck me because they perfectly described what happens when mitochondrial energy declines. The system simply doesn't have the fuel to finish the job. This is where baking soda can make a surprising difference. By reducing the buildup of lactic acid and supporting a more alkaline environment, it allows mitochondria to work more efficiently. Instead of struggling under acidic stress, these tiny energy factories can produce the power smooth muscle cells need to hold blood in place. When Gerald began taking baking soda 3 mornings a week, combined with light stretching and deep breathing, he returned after a month with a spark in his eyes. "Doc," he said, "it feels like the engine's turning over again." Not perfect yet, but alive. That subtle shift, that feeling of renewal, is what happens when the very foundations of your energy are restored. But even with energy restored at the cellular level, another piece of the puzzle remains. Because performance isn't only about circulation and power, it also depends on whether your body can actually listen to and respond to the hormones that drive male vitality. And that's where the story takes another unexpected turn. 6. Enhances testosterone receptor sensitivity. Many men come into my office convinced their problem is low testosterone. They've seen the ads, they've heard the promises, and they believe that if only their levels were higher, their energy and erections would return. But here's the truth I often have to share. It's not just about how much testosterone you have in your blood, it's about whether your body can actually hear it. Think of testosterone like a radio signal. The hormone is the message, but your cells need to tune in and receive it. Over time, inflammation and acidity create static that drowns out the signal. Your blood work might look normal, but your body still doesn't respond. I remember Martin, 64, a retired police officer who carried himself with quiet strength. He came to me frustrated after being told his testosterone was fine. "Doc," he said, "I still feel flat. No energy, no drive. My wife thinks it's all in my head, but I know something isn't right. What Martin was describing wasn't low testosterone, it was low sensitivity. His receptors weren't picking up the hormone's message. Baking soda may not raise testosterone itself, but it can help your body respond to the levels you already have. By reducing inflammation and balancing your chemistry, it clears the static so the signal gets through. When the receptors on your cells become more sensitive, even normal levels of testosterone suddenly feel powerful again. Martin began using baking soda as part of a simple weekly routine, alongside resistance exercises. 6 weeks later, his energy had shifted. He smiled as he told me, "Doc, I feel like myself again. I'm waking up ready for the day, and ready for the night too." That's the beauty of restoring sensitivity. It's not about chasing higher numbers, but about making the numbers you have truly work for you. Yet even when hormones and receptors are firing properly, there's still another challenge men face, because performance isn't just physical. The nervous system plays a powerful, often overlooked role, and it can make or break your confidence in the most intimate moments. 7. Detoxifies the liver and kidneys gently. One of the most overlooked reasons men lose their edge after 60 has nothing to do with testosterone or blood flow. It has everything to do with how well the body can clear out waste. Your liver and kidneys work around the clock, quietly cleaning your blood, breaking down old hormones, and flushing out the toxins that naturally build up over time. But when these organs start to slow down, even just a little, you feel it everywhere. Blood becomes heavier, circulation weakens, and your body no longer responds with the energy or sharpness it once had. I think of Carlos, a 70-year-old retired accountant. On the outside, he seemed healthy. He ate clean, never smoked, and walked every day. Yet when he sat across from me, he admitted something that struck me deeply. "Doc, I just feel toxic inside, like I'm carrying around a weight no one else can see." His labs weren't alarming, but they told the story: slightly elevated uric acid, mild kidney strain, and a sluggish liver, enough to make him feel stuck, tired, and disconnected. This is where baking soda can be a quiet ally. By reducing the acid load on your kidneys, it helps ease filtration, making the job of clearing waste a little lighter. It also supports the liver by calming inflammation and encouraging better bile flow, which helps the body process hormones more efficiently. It's not harsh, it's not aggressive. It's gentle, the way support for older men should be. Carlos started a small routine, just a quarter teaspoon of baking soda with warm lemon water every other morning. 3 weeks later, his words carried a lighter tone. "I don't feel like I'm dragging anymore," he said, "and I'm noticing a difference in how I respond to my wife too." When your body feels cleaner on the inside, everything from your energy to your confidence begins to rise. And that brings us to an even more powerful truth, because all the benefits of baking soda come together to support something far greater than just performance. In the conclusion, I'll show you how these small shifts can truly transform the way you feel as a man after 60. Conclusion. Looking back at these 7 benefits, I'm reminded of the countless men I've met who once felt powerless, only to rediscover strength through the simplest changes. Baking soda may seem ordinary, but it balances your blood's pH, reduces inflammation, boosts nitric oxide, improves oxygen delivery, fuels your smooth muscle energy, restores testosterone sensitivity, and gently supports your liver and kidneys. I've seen it reignite vitality, confidence, and even relationships. My message to you is simple. You are not broken. Even after 60, your body can still heal, respond, and surprise you when given the right support.